All right, we're back. Finally, another Premier League match week done in the books. Match week 9, and it was eventful. It was definitely eventful. Sam, how was your weekend?
It was great. Happy I got to watch some Prem. Unfortunately, we keep doing this thing where we gamble and it looks great, and then we end up being even.
Twice now, I've had in the drafts, so this is something to monitor for when we actually do have a successful week. Just the meme from The Wire when Idris Elba is like, I just want you to put the word out there that we back up. It's been in the drafts and it's just never been able to be unveiled because we are not back up. We are still struggling. We're staying positive. One is a positive number, it's not negative, but it's not the progress we're looking for. We have to update the units, but yeah, we're not making the progress we want.
Yeah, and I apologize to the listeners for that. We keep putting up good ideas and just picking the worst ideas. So that's on us. We're going to be in the lab this week. We're going to figure it out.
I really felt good about this past weekend. That's what bothers me. It's like if I'm feeling so good, I don't know that I see it as good as I want to.
I do feel like it felt so good. Our picks felt. I just couldn't see how
Yeah.
we lose.
And that's the trademark of having a problem. Um but otherwise, I got to see the birds this weekend. First time at the link for a professional Eagles game. No preseason bullshit. No going to the tailgate and being too broke to go inside. I finally made it, and I had a blast. Saw the birds win. Fuck the Finns. Saw very minimal Dolphins fans, and those that were being maligned. Um, Sat next to your sister-in-law just out of the blue, which was crazy. Um, and it was a great time. I have nothing but good things to say. Eagles were pretty much in control of that game. Hope Jalen Hurts okay. What else? Nothing else really. I think they should have more dessert options. That's my take.
Okay. My
I,
question
I
is, do
walked
you?
around. Go ahead.
Okay, you were there. Can Tua do it on a cold night in Stoke? Questions have to be asked.
He definitely can't do it on a cold night in South Philly with Hassan Reddick charging down his back. I can confirm that much. I like Tua. I'm actually a believer. I hope he doesn't have CTE already, but I do like Tua. I have Tyreek Hill on my fantasy team. Not a fan of our rush defense shutting down Mostert so much and making me lose this week, but we move. The win for the Birds is much more important than that. So disavow the fantasy team when you're in the stadium for sure. Uh, but it was a great time. I walked around for a while looking for some dessert. You know, when you have a girlfriend that's craving something sweet, hard to find a churro at the time. Not gonna get Dippin' Dots when it's 35 degrees. So you just try to be a good guy, and you come back with some pierogies and say this is the best I could do.
Oh, I think pierogi's very lateral move to churro for me. Um,
In some cultures, probably.
yeah, I don't doubt it. Wow, that is an interesting place to be. Um,
Also, on just in movie corner, Sam took a lot of heat for the Robert De Niro call out, and deservedly so. Robert De Niro's exceptional in this latest Scorsese movie. Some of the listeners reached out, saw the movie, and were very big fans as well. So Sam's taking a lot of heat right now. Can't imagine.
Once again, I'm under attack. It's not uncharted territory for me to spit out a hot take that no one likes. I've been here before, and I'll be here again. I will go see the film reluctantly. We agreed to that, me and Jake. I don't know when, because I don't know when I'm gonna have a 3.5 hour window. Um, so that's something to monitor. At some point, we will be doing movie corner again. It will come back. But yeah, Jake, I'm happy you got to go to the game. Doesn't feel great that, my best friend and my sister-in-law are at an event and sitting basically next to each other. Kind of feels like an attack, if I'm being honest. Um, was I offended? Yes, for sure. Um, do I take it personally? Yes. Do I think Robert De Niro is a part of this? Absolutely. So it's something to monitor also.
I wish I could hold up a picture of Robert De Niro in a Birds jersey from Silver Linings Playbook right now, because that's how I feel.
Yeah,
Um, Listen, it was a great weekend for football. Um, European football, we were kind of in our bag a little bit, not in the best way. Um, Arsenal Chelsea. We'll start with London's. Uh, what color is London Derby? Because it's really just either been red or blue for the majority of Premier League history, and that blue has not really been Tottenham's blue. It's been the royal blue of the Chelsea Blues. And I don't know, man. They played a lot better than us for the majority of that game. But I heard, I forget which Arsenal player said it, and it was, I think, a month ago, maybe. I think it might have been Martinelli. And he just said, well, when we know we cannot win, we definitely won't lose. And that's kind of how it felt because despite 75 minutes of like Arsenal's worst football, they showed a lot of resilience, got a real gift from Robert Sanchez, and Declan Rice did wonderfully to put that away and keep it away from the keeper. And then they just had this surge of energy like this Arsenal team does. And it's kind of my favorite thing about watching them that you really never think they're dead. Unless there's a 3 goal deficit, I really always feel like we have a chance, especially against a team that's been so inconsistent like Chelsea. Though more to come on that. I do think they're finding their footing. But we had the surge of energy, and Trossard was able to score in the 84th minute to equalize. And I thought we were going to go on and win it at that point. But Chelsea stayed strong. Their goals came a little bit fraudulent, despite being the better side of the time. Cole
a little
Palmer,
bit. Oh my
listen,
god, I can't stand the narratives coming out of this game. Don't let them get to you, Jake. This is the
I don't
most.
know. I just watched us look so
Oh
flat for so long.
god, okay, but we didn't handle a press that we didn't anticipate. Credit to Pochettino. Pochettino had Chelsea set up in a very smart tactical way, pressing very forward, which was I thought was very ballsy of them. Uh, but am I going to say either of those goals are deserved? Absolutely not. The Modric header is going off target, and it happens to hit Saliba's arm, who's jumping and contesting for it. Fine finish by Cole Palmer. That's fine. Anyone that think that Modric tried to put that ball in the net, play soccer or football once in your fucking life. Like,
Did you
what are we
did you
doing?
see did you see Arteta's post conference where the guy says, "Oh, Mudryk just confirmed it was intentional." He goes, "Oh, okay."
Come on, man. Like I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna give Chelsea all this credit that they don't deserve. Point oh 0.01 expected goals on that Mudryk shot attempt. And it's clearly a cross. He only looks at Raheem Sterling. That's all he does. And he just clearly mishits it. I mean, the
I
fight
agree with.
back
I mean, I yeah. Go
I,
ahead. The fight back.
the fight back was good. I mean, Deck is incredibly fortunate that Robert Sanchez passed him the ball. Great finish by Deck. Not going to take that away from him. The Trossard goal was fantastic. I thought Saka was really good in this game. Cucurella, clearly Pochettino told him to press him like constantly throughout this game. And I guess you can only press for so long before you get tired legs because Saka, the last 30, 25 minutes, really got the best of him and led to him getting that assist. But don't let them get to you, Jake. Don't do this.
I know. I was a little bit depleted. We've looked so good this whole season, and those 75 minutes were the first time I was like, "Oh, this doesn't feel good. This we look like really flat and really lazy and really not up for this game and really not prepared." And that's why fuck international break. That's my takeaway. It gave some of our guys plenty of time to get healthy. Saka is clearly fine. Saliba is clearly fine. Partey is never fucking fine, which is annoying. He didn't play in this game yet. He was on the bench, and then he doesn't play in Spain today. So that's pretty annoying considering how Sam and I were just like, yeah, we finally figured it out. Odegaard, Partey, Rice. That's the best it's going to get for us. And then he's just never available. So that's cool. I feel like if he starts this game instead of Jorginho, we might win because Jorginho really didn't have it this game. Um, Jesus was okay. Martinelli was probably our most threatening guy in the first half, going up against Malo Gusto, who's ain't it. Sorry, Chelsea fans. He just fell asleep on the Trossard goal. Really beautiful finish by Trossard, but yeah, that guy's not good. Um, and I don't know. I'm looking at the stats. Arsenal had 57% possession. We had 130 more passes with better pass accuracy, but we also had double the fouls they had. Um, we had 5 more corners than them. The stats look like we were better, so maybe I'm underselling Arsenal, but that just speaks volumes to what the standard is of this team these days.
I think that in this game, this was the perfect script for them. Get a goal early. And I'm not going to say against the run of play because they were the better side for the first 20 minutes very conclusively.
They
Um,
being Chelsea.
yes, they being Chelsea. And a deserved goal, but in a fluky fashion.
Yeah,
Um, and then snatch another goal right after halftime. Because the only way they can play is a long ball to Raheem, and then Raheem creates from there. And I'm convinced that's the only way they're ever going to create anything this season. Um, they looked good on the break, and we definitely committed men forward and had to commit fouls later in the game. Um, Nico Jackson, you stink, dude. I don't. My guy won't even shoot the ball. He has a
yeah.
one-on-one with the keeper and just refuses to shoot the ball. It was crazy.
He tried to go around him, and at first, like live, it looked like David Raya like did something really cool. And then when you see it in slow mo, you're like, what is he doing? Like Nico Jackson just totally timid. Like built in a lab, maybe like a Hasbro lab, because like that was like childish. I
Bars.
I I don't know. I kind of feel like Arsenal, you get a point at the bridge in a game that you probably didn't even deserve a point. Maybe you deserved 1 point, but probably throw this game away. Um, it is what it is. Chelsea look promising. That's one of my biggest takeaways is like I feel like they aren't terrible. I feel like they're not terrible. I won't succumb to the fact that we couldn't get 3 points off a terrible team. They look competent for the vast majority of that game. You can't tell me that's wrong.
I think Pochettino is finally getting them to play in a fashion that they need to play to get results. That's like the
He's
biggest
seeing
credit I'll give
yeah,
them.
he's seeing the best possible like shape of these players that Todd Bowley has given him. That's what he's seeing, and I think he's finally reaping the rewards of that. They've still been the weirdly like the expected goals darling of the year that still doesn't make total sense to me. They don't concede a lot of chances according to expected goals, and they have a lot of good chances, which they really didn't have a lot of good chances against Arsenal. Um, but I think it's a deserved point by both sides.
Yeah.
And Arsenal, you move on. Arsenal played today in the Champions League, and they won pretty convincingly against Sevilla. Um, so you just move on. They started Jorginho again today, but Tomiyasu got the start over Zinchenko, which I appreciated. I think Tomiyasu is actually just like improving a lot as a player, and according to the way like we clearly wanted to play with Timber coming into the squad over Zinchenko, just more um, competent defensively. Tomiyasu allows us to do a lot more of those same things than Zinchenko does. I saw a tweet this week that was like Zinchenko only played the most games he ever started for City in a campaign was 15, and there's good reason for that. And I'm starting to feel like he's right. I love a lot of the things he does, but as far as like keeping up with some of the best wingers in the world, I just don't think he's got it defensively.
Yeah, and I think Jorginho in the squad also just it's another defensive liability, and you can't have so many at the same position. And he really does when Zinchenko comes forward and kind of becomes that false CDM when we have possession of the ball. So I agree with you. I I give Pochettino credit. He finally has these boys set up in the way he wants them to. But do I feel good about them? Like, not at all. And if the market is like going to overreact to a point with Arsenal when we played our worst game, like I got them circled this weekend because I'm
How,
going to be very interested to see.
how do you feel about the narrative that Odegaard is part of the problem at Arsenal?
I mean, those people are part of the problem in everyday life. Uh, like, I, what are we doing? Like, come on, man. Like that. That's a joke. Like, watch a game. Like, have a pulse. What are you talking about? Like,
At a
Odegaard is
certain
not the
point,
problem.
you got to look in the mirror and understand when you're reaching. Um, People are saying he doesn't create enough chances, and I think my expert analysis on this, and I say that jokingly, but I also spend way too much time watching this fucking team, and I I really think he's so technical and so intelligent when it comes to making that through ball that leads to um, more often than not the goal that a lot of these cams assist. He really never makes it unless he's like positive it's the right call.
Hmm.
And if I would rather that than the center attacking mid that plays 10 of them because two of them will work and they'll get two assists. Odegaard is just far more often choosing a pass back or choosing a lateral pass rather than choosing the risky through ball that's probably odds are not going to hit the player that it's desired, or it's too risky of a pass. And I respect that. And I'm sure Arteta has told his captain and his eyes on the pitch. I'm sure he's told him to play that way.
Yeah, I mean, he played poorly in the game against Spurs and this game, and now people are like ready to turn on him as if he's not been fantastic the rest of the season. Like, I
It's so
just
annoying.
I don't even have time for like just stupidity like that. It's like the same
Gave Deck
thing.
the armband.
Yeah, and it's like the same thing as like Rashford should be dropped by United. It's like, what are you talking about? Like, he's one of our best players, if not our best player. Like, shut up.
Yeah. Listen, I love Deck as much as the next guy. He's proved he deserves to be in this team, but Odegaard is our captain through and through right now. Um, he helped see us through and spark like the biggest rejuvenation of a major club in the last 20 years. Um, and I don't think that's changing anytime soon. I hope the fans that are going to games don't start to do some Xhaka shit and turn on him because he doesn't deserve that. He's been wonderful, and I think this is just a small sector of fans that are being pretty loud on Twitter, and I just need to block them all.
Yeah, yeah, fuck him.
Uh, Fuck them. All right, so let's get into the rest of these games. Um, Credit to Chelsea, made us work for a point. Really, just throw that one away for Arsenal. But I will say, hand up, they were better than us for the majority. I know Sam doesn't totally agree, but that's how I feel. All right, let's go in order at this point. So we started the weekend off with
Merseyside.
Liverpool Everton. Yep, Merseyside at Anfield, right?
Yes, at Anfield.
So Ashley Young yellows are back. Not sure they ever left. He had two and was sent off in the first half, and I just think it's such great comedy that he's even in this team starting consistently. Sam and I were talking about like how this happened, and it just had to be like Sean Dyche saying, "I think Ashley Young still has it. Think he's good. Think he's a good pickup. He's a free agent." And lo and behold, he is the starting left back that is just constantly getting yellows for Everton. It's a strange 2-0 result though, because City were. Oh wait, what? Sorry, Liverpool were up a man and never really felt dominant. But maybe Everton were just composed enough with their sit back and defense scheme that the early red demanded. Liverpool were really struggling to break them down. They didn't score until past 70 minutes on. Um, and they were settling for a lot of long shots, which was weird to me because they started both Joboslai and McAllister. They didn't seem themselves. Eventually, they get a fair penalty off a just blatant handball that wasn't really anybody's fault, just kind of where his hand was. It was Tarkovsky, I think, in the box and go 1-0 up. And eventually, Salah converts again on the counter to clinch it at 2-0. But Liverpool's first game without Robertson, they definitely lack quality against a poor Everton side.
It was Michael Keane. I'm almost
Oh, it was
positive.
Michael Keane. Yeah, yeah, he was
Yeah.
a he was a He was a halftime sub.
Yeah, I think it was Michael Keane. Yeah, I totally agree. I thought Liverpool were pretty poor in this game, and I think people will take away like, oh my God, Salah scored a brace, but I thought Salah individually was pretty poor. He scored a pen and he scored a sitter from Darwin Nunez, who does all the work for that goal. But I thought Liverpool overall looked pretty poor. And I'd be afraid for them lacking Robertson because clearly he offers something like he frees up Salah in a way that uh, he's not going to have for quite some time. So, um, I mean, it's a derby. That's the biggest thing. You can't always take that much away from derbies, but um, I was impressed with how Everton set up defensively, and I wasn't necessarily impressed with Liverpool. That being said, they won 2-0, so they took care of business. But red card derby, not going to take that much away from either side.
Just some deserved shout outs to us being sharp, despite um, not always reaping the rewards of it. I called like 4 weeks ago Ashley Young yellows or something to monitor, and maybe we just should start investing in that because this is crazy at this point. I think he's gotten like four so far this season. Um, and Sam called in the last pod that Salah pops off in this game. Despite looking poor, he did score two goals. So we are still sharp despite not gaining any units ever.
We did mention Liverpool -1.5 and under 3.5 in our nominations, so those both would have been nice had we done
Love
them.
that.
Didn't pull the trigger,
Love that.
but that's okay. That's okay.
And we did have Liverpool money line, so that was cool.
We
Thanks
did.
to that for one of our only hits of the weekend. Um, but yeah, not a ton to take. Like Sam said, not a ton to take away. It's a derby. There's a red card, and Liverpool struggled to break them down. But that's kind of just what happens when teams are forced to defend with their entire team for the majority of the game. So, and you're going forward without one of your main attackers, despite Robertson being a left back. He's pretty important to that system. So, yeah, just again another game, throw it away. Uh, and they got the 3 points that they wanted, so I'm sure they're not complaining. Um, Brentford Burnley. So this was a spot where we knew Vegas knew that Brentford were winning, but my hatred towards Brentford for killing us a few weeks back led us to not touch them. And Sam agreed the fact that they were like -120 and they are not good enough to be against any team led us to leave that off. But we did see this one coming, and they won 3-0 handedly against Burnley, who got a red card. Um, I didn't watch any highlights, and I don't plan to.
No, it just that's something that happened. If a tree falls in the forest, does it make a noise? Kind of the same thing at this game. 3-0.
Um,
We move on.
we had the under. We did have the under 3.5. So thanks. That's a good call.
Yeah, and I was watched refreshing scores aggressively, watching for that one. So shout out to Brentford for not scoring again against Burnley. And
Burnley just stink. Burnley are in last. They have 1 point this season. It's weird. I don't remember a relegation scrap where the teams are so much worse than everybody else.
yeah,
There's four teams that are definitively the worst teams in the league, and I'm excited for one of them to not be relegated.
yeah, I'm excited for them to go down next year. Whoever survives this year.
Like like last season, Southampton could still give anybody fits, which is and they're and they are better than all four of these teams, which is annoying.
Yeah. Well, one of those teams did snatch a point. Little tease.
Little tease. We can move on to that one. I mean, Sam was really excited for me to watch the highlights of Nottingham Forest Luton Town, and he sent them to me after a long fucking Monday, and I was like, "Can I? Do I have to do this right now?" Like, I really it did not appeal to me. Um, but I ended up watching. It was fucking madness, and thank God we didn't bet Nottingham Forest like we considered because Jesus Christ, I would have fucking freaked out, man. That was
Those
that was that was a crazy collapse.
those are two of the worst goals you will ever see conceded. And to have them both in the same game when you're up 2-0 is one of the worst dropping of 2 points I've ever seen. Uh, I
Especially
can't.
at home. At home.
Oh my god, it's awful. Um, I can't like emphasize this enough. Like to the listeners, like please go watch these highlights. It is disgusting. It is absolutely foul. I'm so
It's
happy we.
objectively funny though. It's objectively funny.
Yeah, I'm so happy we didn't take under 2.5, which I was saying, or Forest minus 140. Oh my god, that was truly awful. Truly, truly awful.
Shout out to Luton stealing a point because they are now. I mean, they're still staying up. Like it's hilarious, but I picked them in my preseason prediction that we are going to go over at the midway point in the season. I picked them to stay up because the dream was very much alive in my heart and in my head. Then I watched them and I was like, this is the stupidest thing I've ever done. Like, this team is really, really bad. And then they have stolen a draw again and they have 5 professional points. Um, I'm sorry. I said Burnley were in last. Burnley have a win. Burnley are in 18th. Um, Sheffield have 1 point, and Sheffield also lost by 8. So maybe Sheffield's the worst after all. There's a lot of bad teams, and Bournemouth, they are way too. They have so they have more. They have too many good players to be in this bunch. Like Sheffield, Burnley, and Luton are so fucking bad. Like I don't. I can't emphasize it enough how much worse they are than the rest of the league. It's hilarious that Luton are able to pull out results like this.
Yeah, man, I don't know. It's crazy. Like I said, those goals are fucking horrific. The free kick from Townsend is like one of the worst free kicks you will see in the Premier League this season. Like that's how bad it was. The fact that somehow it's headed on and goes into the net, like it blew my mind. Poor Matt Turner.
His face after is like, guys, are we serious? Like, poor guy. Yeah, no, it's pretty crazy. Bournemouth don't have a win this season, which I don't know how that's possible
uh, it- Something to monitor.
for sure.
Should we go to them now?
Um, yeah, we can go to Bournemouth. Bournemouth lost to Wolves in such an annoying game because we said this. We are like, Sam and I are going to be looking at each other on Monday when Wolves win and being like, we're idiots. But it was the right pick because Bournemouth got a red card, um, and Wolves just came back. I didn't have on my radar the Gary O'Neill revenge game. Probably should have thought about that more. Um, but Wolves come back and win 2-1 to get the plus 200 result that Sam and I really did look at. It just didn't feel smart. And I don't think it was because if they, I mean, the red card, what are you going to do?
Yeah, I agree. Neto was awesome in this game. Smacked one off the crossbar. Like one of it probably would have been goal of the season contender. It was awesome. And then Wang set up the go ahead goal with an awesome like drive back into like a through ball. Bournemouth just fell asleep and gave this game away. Um, yeah, it's exactly what you said. Like we liked Wolves in this game. We think Wolves are a better team than Bournemouth, but like just didn't feel right, and ultimately they pulled it out. So credit to Wolves, but I don't hate that we stayed off that one.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we said Wolves were finding their footing. I don't know that I take credit for this game like being a example of that because Bournemouth were in command at first. It went to 1-1. Bournemouth get a red. I didn't see the red. Was it brutal?
No, it's one of the. It's like it's why the haters and losers hate soccer/football. It's like Wang gets up after like a rough challenge and like gets in his face, and then he gets like grazed in the face with a headbutt, and then it's a straight red. I
Oh,
honestly,
that was the red.
yeah,
Gotcha. I
it's
heard about it.
yeah, they're just it's awful. Gives the entire game a bad name, but whatever. I mean, Wolves took care of business, so we move on.
All right. Um, On to, I mean, well, real quick look ahead. Wolves, as we think that they're finding their footing, coming up, they have Newcastle at home, and then
Cool.
they're going to Sheffield. So that Newcastle result will tell us a lot of like what we are hypothesizing. Um, and then we can go to Newcastle. On that note, we called this just full credit taken for this one. We were like, these odds are just point to Newcastle. you got to combine them with something. We did with Liverpool, thankfully, and we pulled out a unit plus from it, I believe. 4-0, just battering of Palace. We also called that Palace weren't going to score against them, and they didn't. Probably should have done something about that investment wise, but it's fine. Um, but yeah, Newcastle were far superior. They had 60% possession. Although Crystal Palace surprisingly 17 shots, only 3 on target. Not a great ratio. Um, Newcastle had 573 passes, 86% passing accuracy. They look good. 4-0. They should be really content with that result, obviously. And they're I think they are. I think they are finding their footing. I think they're getting back to their form of last season. We'll see how they do in Champions League this weekend or this midweek. But I do think we've got the Newcastle of old back.
Yeah, I think so as well. And we were on this going into this match week. We both felt really good about Newcastle, and we felt Crystal Palace have been very fortunate of their recent form, and that just I think that just materialized, and that's what happened. They just ran into a buzzsaw. So credit to Anthony Gordon. God, he's such a weird player. I still don't. I can't tell if he's good or not. I always struggle with that. I
Oh well, I can. I'll do you a solid. I'll send you a tweet that I found this week, and it was like, just watch this clip. This is Barcelona Neymar, and then I was like, what? And it was Anthony Gordon, and I was like, no, that this is wrong.
yeah. Yeah, don't let fake news get to you. I know that's a big thing in today's society. Don't let people tell you that Anthony Gordon is that good. So just chill out, man. Good result
I
though.
think he is. Personal opinion, I do think he's good. Actually, don't love the style, but I do think he's good. Um, but that's really all there is to say on Newcastle Crystal Palace. Great result for Newcastle. Palace are kind of just destined for the middle. And then we have City Brighton. Sam and I both watched this game. I think I watched more of the first 60 minutes. Sam kind of watched towards the end. Am I right on that?
Yeah, I missed the first 15 minutes, but then I was clued in the rest of the match.
Okay. Um, Pep starts Ortega. Not sure that was the move.
Made no sense, and he was poor. The distribution that he was talking about, I didn't see it. I don't think anyone else that watched the game saw it. So thanks for that one, dickhead.
Yep. City had multiple chances to end it, like just put it away at 2-0 and make it 3, but they kind of lack composure to do so. And then you let a team as good as Brighton have some belief and back in it, you're going to have problems. And they nearly did. Brighton got a goal, a deserved goal, um, after Alvarez almost had like an open net, but it was pretty tough finish to pull off, especially with Dunk just like fully guarding the goal. Um, and then on the counter, Brighton had a wonderfully worked counter, and Ansu Fati finishes off just some great stuff by Matoma. And then it's 2-1, and then it's kind of just a scrap fest for the rest of the way. Um, Unfortunately, we see Solly March go down in that time. Love that player. I think he's a great player, and just goes off on a stretcher. You hate to see it. But yeah, they make it 2-1, and just like that, City minus 1.5 was dead, despite looking like the right bet. That being said, though, City did look their best in the first half, and Haaland had probably his best finish of the season. So, plenty to be excited about if you're a City fan, besides Akanji being suspended for next game against United.
I I'm not going to call Pep a dickhead. I'm lashing out. City minus 1.5 was absolutely the right bet in this spot. They were largely the better side for a long time, but it's exactly what Jake said. They had chances to put this game away, even in the first half. Doku specifically, I don't know how that ball doesn't go in the back of the net. I feel like on his day, uh, that finesse shot definitely nestles in the top corner. But they didn't, so they let Brighton hang around. And Matoma was largely neutralized by Kyle Walker, which we had talked about. That was going to be a good matchup. And really good players, they just need one opportunity. And he had one opportunity, and he found Ansu Fati, who put it away. So um, Brighton are a good side. Even on their day when it feels like City are at their best, they they only lose by one. So it's I think Brighton are just super impressive. That's my biggest takeaway.
Yeah, I remember early on Sam was texting me, do we need to reevaluate Brighton? And I was like, I just think this is peak City right now. And then
No.
eventually Brighton played their way into it. And they looked like themselves again, and De Zerbi was going crazy, and I thought there was a chance they could equalize. Um, but yeah, I don't regret that -1.5 pick, and I think that's good process by us, and we're gonna keep doing it. Um, but credit to City. If you look at Google and you see the red card, it wasn't until like literally the last 30 seconds of the game. Um, Off just a second yellow by Kanji. They'll miss him for the game against United, but luckily for them, they have like four other players that do exactly the same thing because they're fucking assholes. Um, so I mean, I'm excited for the United Derby. United Derby was this weekend. The Manchester Derby. Um, I'm excited for that next weekend, just to see if United can even keep up with them. And like they've always kind of had their number, even when City have been like vastly superior to them. So I would love for United to be able to take some points off, but I don't expect it. But we'll get to that later this week. Um, then we have Chelsea Arsenal. We already talked about that, and then we have the United Derby. So I was subjected to watch this, but I just gotta hand up. I'm not built like Sam. I can't watch shitty soccer for an hour and a half and just keep up with it. I watched the first half. It was painful, and then I fucking fell asleep because that's me. I'm not built like Sam. I have like three sentences of notes. I said again, United played poor. They had some really good chances. They were unable to put away. Hoyland and Rashford both did not look great. Not calling to bench Rashford because fuck that, but uh, Hoyland just what is he? I need to find. I'm gonna do this once you talk about that. I'm gonna see how his stats because I think he has 0 goals and 0 assists in 6 games. Um, and Rashford has 1 goal this season. I think that is two players that I would think can work together, but they haven't yet. They get all 3 points thanks to a Delos screamer, but really not encouraging if you're a United fan.
So I watched the second half of the game. I actually thought Cameron Archer was really good in this game. I thought he was pretty unfortunate to not get on the score sheet. So that's something positive. Um, Scott McTominay and Dallo, like that's where we're getting our goals from now. Is that where we're at?
Scott McTominay weird bumbles in the box that just end up being like a slow roller into the side corner. I don't think that spells that's not
Sustainable.
something you can rely on. Yeah, sustainability is the word. I don't think that's something that's like, oh, we can at least McTominay is going to bag a goal. I don't think that's going to happen too often. Um, it is nice that Sam tuned in. He probably just saw me stop texting him back and just jumped in because that was just some co-host telepathy there because there was no communication and I stopped watching that game and we were almost hung high and dry to watch the highlights and think that United played well. But luckily, he's got our back.
Yeah, I mean, this United team, like City -3 this weekend. This
Oh my
United,
God.
this United team is terrible. Like they are just not a good side. Um,
So of the underwhelming Big Six, they're far worse than Chelsea for you?
oh my god, yeah, because at least like at least Chelsea can press effectively from the front and get the ball back like in good
Mhm.
positions. I don't know what this. If you can tell me what this United team does positively, like please do, because I don't see any quality that it's like, oh, you want a side that does that.
I would say counter, but that's their whole offense. They don't score a ton, so I don't really I don't really know. I don't really
You would
know.
say counter, but
Um,
then their goals come from Scott McTominay. Like the ball like bounces weirdly and he awkwardly mishits it and it happens to go in the net and everyone's like, what the fuck just happened? And that's how
yeah.
they score goals.
The Delo screamer was tidy, and I actually think despite this really rough season, Delo has been a bright spot. Like he has come on despite Shaw's injury, played in a position that he's not totally comfortable in. I'm pretty sure he was a right back, and he's been playing left back,
He is a
I
right
think.
back. Yes.
Yeah. Um, and he's been every game that I've seen or highlights that I've seen, he's been really, really strong for them.
Yeah, credit to I should give Dallas some credit. That finish was awesome. And just defenders should not be able to hit a ball like that. That was absolutely delicious. So he also made it scary because United 3.5 under 3.5, the United Derby under 3.5, which we had with Brentford Burnley under 3.5 for +110, made things very scary. We were going to go negative, but we didn't. So closed it out. Shout out to United. Thank you for that. To both Uniteds, I should be respectful. So thank you for that. Big result for them against Copenhagen in the Champions League. Onana
Happy
made
for
a
them.
penalty save, which he needed to do, or else they would have drew.
To Copenhagen. Copenhagen.
To Copenhagen. Yep, big result for them. Hmm.
Love that. Let's move on. I don't want to talk about them anymore. Um, let's save Spurs for last because there's a greater conversation to have about them. Villa. So we saw this. We just thought we respected West Ham a little too much, I'm afraid. Um, and we didn't have on our radar the fact that Villa had won 10 straight matches at home, and Emery has turned Villa Park into a fortress. Um, but they absolutely throttled West Ham, despite being a little lucky to go up 2-0 when the game was in anybody's hands. When they were up 1-0, that penalty was not a penalty. But Douglas Luiz put it away, and man, they when they're on their day, they look really, really good. And I feel like what we have said is a top four of Arsenal, Liverpool, City, and Brighton. Like I think you just have to add Spurs and Villa into that. Maybe Spurs definitely Villa when they're on their day because they really feel like they belong in that group sometimes. They're spectacular this game, and Watkins and Diaby have really, really sharp chemistry when they're clicking. West Ham, they, like I said, were unfortunate, but they were hardly threatening. And in the end, it was all Villa. The scoreline reflects that, and they're now firmly in fifth place, and they deserve to be.
Yeah, I think Villa. Everything you just said, I think Villa are a really good side. Just they just have a lot of good players on this team, and it helps when you turn your home stadium into a fortress, like you said. I think I saw Douglas Luiz has scored in 6 straight home matches. That's uh,
That's
that's
crazy.
that's really impressive. And Ollie
He's a
Watkins,
CDM.
yeah, and Ollie Watkins is just playing like really good ball. That last goal,
Dude, did you see that left-footed finish? That was crazy.
yeah, and it's not a lash at the ball either. It's very calculated, kind of sends the defender going right, gives himself a little bit of space and lashes it top corner. Absolutely delicious. And Leon Bailey is also a baller. He comes on as a sub. So um, yeah, I think West Ham are just going to be one of those teams. I think they're going to bully the bottom teams, and they're just kind of going to get smoked by the bigger teams. Is that? Do you think that's accurate?
No, I mean, I agree. I think we said that about West Ham a while back. I didn't consider Villa to be much bigger than them, but Villa, I think being at Villa Park, what Emery has been able to do at that stadium has just proved to be the difference. One thing I'll say, I hope I hope he stays because it's more fun when good players are on less big teams. But one thing that doing this podcast and watching more Premier League football than I ever have in my entire life has put me down a rabbit hole. It's just like, should we have a list of like guys that will say see ya in January too? Because I feel like Neto and Watkins are at the top of that list.
Ooh, Watkins would be really interesting. Neto, I definitely see, and there's been a lot of buzz around him. Um, Matoma,
Watkins
interestingly, he
depends
signed
if
that new
he's
deal.
like, yeah, Matoma's on the new deal. Sorry, Watkins depends because if Villa are this good, he's probably not going anywhere.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. It's definitely interesting.
Did you see the conditions of the Matoma deal? I didn't even see them in public yet.
I don't think they're public, and I think there is a reason for that. It would not surprise me if he has some kind of release clause in there.
Oh, okay, something to monitor. Love that. Um, but yeah, shout out to Villa. Great result for them. West Ham looked a little fraudulent, but maybe they're just not as good as we think they are, despite having like what I think to be a top six roster in the league, maybe
Yeah,
top seven.
their goal was very fortunate. Also,
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Over 3.5, we took a look at it, plus 146, did not. So shout out to us once again. Just having
Sharp,
it in
not
our
sharp
sights.
enough.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just having it in our sights and just saying, nah, dude, I'm good.
We'll get there. We'll get there. Eventually they'll click because our process is good. And I think like on potential picks, like we got to start checking the results of those because I think we're like 14-6. We've just picked the 4 that have missed in the past 2 weeks. Um,
Agonizing.
and then last game of the weekend was yesterday. Tottenham 2-0 over Fulham in another London derby. Um, it's really hard for me to believe that Spurs can just sell their greatest ever player, hire a new manager who has never been in the Premier League, and be considered with the best of us. I think Madison's incredible. I think Son's maybe been player of the season to this point. Big Ange is very likable, and yes, I'm going to continue to fluctuate what I pronounce his name as every single podcast. I just find it hard to believe that they're this good. Like, let's try to remember their best result of the season is either a draw against Arsenal or a win against United, who our opinion of is well documented and low. I just need to see Spurs really be tested before I'm ready to call them serious, serious title contenders. And I just want to say that's fair because so many people said that about Arsenal last season when Arteta finally had them clicking and Arsenal were like 16-1, 16-3-1 halfway through the season. People were like, I don't know. I feel like Spurs need to show me a little bit more. I don't think that's me being harsh. I don't think they're not top 4. I think they should be top 4.
I mean, I think Son and Madison's chemistry instantly is shocking. I mean, it makes sense, right? Vardy and Son, they do have a lot of similarities when you think about it. You definitely don't associate Vardy with Son, but like the more I've been thinking, I thought about after this game, like why is Madison so good in this squad? And to me, it just seems like Son is just playing like prime Vardy, just a true number 9, like scoring some buckets, making really good runs. Um, yeah, they both assisted each other's goals in this game, correct?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, the Sun one specifically, it's such a good turn and such a lovely finish, and then just really good chemistry between Madison and Son for Son to just leave it for Madison, who disposes it. Fulham stink. I'm worried about us giving Fulham love because they were just bad in this game. And
We
I
gave
know,
their roster building love. We didn't give their play style love.
yeah, but God, they were disappointing in this game. You have a Monday night spot and you show up like that and just like never are really in the game at all. That effort sucks to me. Um, Credit to Spurs, they keep getting wins. They're top of the league, and it's deserved. But I mean, I agree with you, Jake. I just also have reservations about them, and I think it's fair to have them.
So looking ahead, they have Palace away on Friday, which is going to be interesting because they wait. There's no way they don't have they didn't qualify for Europa last season.
They did not.
Okay, fraudulent. Um, they it's going to be interesting because they have a Monday and then a Friday Premier League game. You don't see that too often. But they play the early game on Friday at Palace, who are going to be hungry after getting throttled by Newcastle. Then they host Chelsea, who I think are finding their form a little bit. They go to Wolves, and then they host Villa, and they go to City. So like the next after Palace, which like they'll probably win, but after that, those 4 games: hosting Chelsea, at Wolves, hosting Villa, at City. Then they have West Ham after that, and then Newcastle after that.
That is a
We'll
gauntlet.
we'll
Jeez.
see. We'll see who's who.
That is a who's who schedule. Holy hell. That is a gauntlet. After this Palace side, who kind of stink. Oh, we get a Friday game. Let's go, Jake. That's huge. We need that.
That is big. Because we'll try to record on Thursday then in that case, so we can get everything out in our picks before that Friday game. I know we were a little late, but we didn't have one this past weekend. So um, we should be back Thursday evening, all going according to plan. Try to keep this regularly scheduled programming that we lost a couple weeks back. But um, Listen, we're working hard to churn this content out for you, and we are going to be back with a winning weekend this upcoming weekend.
I have zero doubt in our process, Jake. We're so due. We're right there.
Any final thoughts before we close out here?
Um, Final thoughts. What if I said no?
Um, Final thoughts. I'm rewatching The Last of Us, having a great time.
Oh, that's good. Um, I'm watching South Park. I'm enjoying that. Uh,
Nice.
yeah, real
This
classy.
feels this feels out of place. It's just intro stuff. So we're gonna we're gonna call it here. Um, we'll be back Thursday with some hot picks. We'll be in the lab. We are going to profit at least a unit this weekend. I don't doubt it. So stay tuned. And we'll see you next time.
City minus 123.